IGH Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the launching vehicles of ISRO. In this topic, we are going to discuss three important topics. Number one, evolution of the launching vehicles of ISRO, starting from SLV to GSLV. Second question, we are going to discuss about the topic called, second question can be the PSLV. What is PSLV and its success rate, and why ISRO has tremendously depending upon PSLV. Number three, we can also expect a question from cryogenic technology. So these are the three important topics that can be expected from this topic called as launching vehicles of ISRO. Launching vehicles of ISRO. First, we'll see the establishment of ISRO. So INCOSPAR, ISRO with its earlier name INCOSPAR, was established in the year 1962, and the emergence of INCOSPAR has extremely paved way for the formation of such a great level of evolution in space technology in India. For this, we can say from 1962 to 2022, we can say tremendously ISRO has reached to the optimum level. Okay. So, for example, in this journey, the journey of ISRO has started with a small launching vehicle called as SLV, Satellite Launching Vehicle. Satellite Launching Vehicle. So, my dear friends, so let us look at the model questions. What are the expected questions from this dimension? Number one, what are the launching vehicle systems of India? Launching vehicle systems of ISRO. Launching vehicle systems of ISRO. Number two, this was the previous question. This was the previous question in group 1 mains. Explain PSLV and compare it with GSLV. We can expect either specifically with reference to PSLV or GSLV, or both the comparative studies of both PSLV and GSLV can also be expected. Number three, the third question that can be expected is nothing but cryogenic technology. Cryogenic technology. These are the various topics which we are going to discuss in this segment. Number one, launching vehicle systems of ISRO from SLV to GSLV and the comparative study. Number two, PSLV, what is PSLV, and explain it, compare it with reference to the GSLV. Number three, what is cryogenic technology, and mention the importance of cryogenic technology in the GSLV. So these are the three expected topics from this question. For a brief period of time, we are going to discuss about the evolution of these all launching vehicles. So, what are the main launching vehicles that can be seen in this, that has been launched by ISRO so far? What are the main launching vehicles? Number one, first launching vehicle is nothing but SLV. First generation launching vehicle is nothing but SLV. First generation launching vehicle is SLV. And the height of SLV is 22.7 meters, and it can able to carry with a weight of SLV can able to carry lift off mass is 17 tons, and it can carry the satellite with a weight of 40 kgs. Very small satellite can be launched by the SLV. So the satellites that can be launched by the SLV can be 40 kgs. We can say it is one of the primitive launching vehicles of ISRO, and we can also call it as first generation launching vehicle. This is the first generation, this is the second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and the extension of the fourth generation is nothing but Gslv Mk2. So first generation launching vehicle is SLV, and which can able to carry with a payload of 40 kgs, and into which orbit it can able to keep the satellites is nothing but low Earth orbit. So low Earth orbit is the orbit, the low Earth orbit is the orbit where you can see. Actually, I am going to give you a small brief information with reference to the orbits. So from the surface of Earth, the between 160 to 1600 kilometers height, we can call it as between 160 to 1600 kilometers is called as LEO, low Earth orbit. And from 1600 kilometers to 10,500 kilometers, there is no specific orbit. So no satellites will be launched in this orbit. After the 1600 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers, from 10,500 kilometers to 20,500 kilometers, we can see MEO, medium Earth orbit. And whereas in the case of 20,500 kilometers to 36,500 kilometers, we can see the orbit called as GEO. We can see the orbit called as GEO. So, the polar satellite launching vehicle or ASLV, augmented satellite launching vehicle, or PSLV, polar satellite launching vehicle, will try to deploy the satellites at the height of 1600 kilometers to 160 to 1600 kilometers. 160 to 1600 kilometers. Whereas in the case of GSLV, can able to deploy the satellites to the height of 20,500 kilometers to 36,500 kilometers. So this is the orbital range of the PSLV and the carrying capacity, to what extent the PSLV can able to carry. So you may have a doubt. So Chandrayaan-1 was launched by PSLV and Mars Orbiter mission was launched by PSLV, and IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, was launched by PSLV. So for example, in future discussion, as we are going to discuss, these are the prestigious missions of ISRO, like like Chandrayaan-1, Mars Orbiter mission, IRNSS. Actually, they are supposed to carried by the GSLV because of the unreliable track record of the PSLV. The GSLV has been used for this purpose. PSLV has been used. Initially, who are supposed to carry this launching vehicle is nothing but GSLV. Because of the improper track record, irregular track record of the GSLV, PSLV has been used to launch the satellites. That is the first important point you need to understand. So, coming back to the SLV will deploy the satellites into the LEO. SLV first point. So, with this all evolution, you can able to make answers also. SLV can able to carry the satellites into the height of 160 to 1600 kilometers, which is nothing but low Earth orbit, and it can able to carry the payload mass of 40 kgs. And what is the fuel used in the SLV is nothing but all solid fuel. Every in the SLV stage, you can see the solid fuel has been used, and what is the height is 22.7 and lift off mass is weight is 17 ton. That is the first generation launching vehicle, which is nothing but SLV, or satellite launching vehicle. Next, number 2, ASLV. What is ASLV? Augmented satellite launching vehicle. Augmented satellite launching vehicle. So comparison is very important. So whereas in the case of SLV can carry the satellite of 40 kgs, whereas in the case of ASLV, one of the enhanced version of the SLV is nothing but augmented satellite launching vehicle. With a carrying capacity of satellite, it can able to carry the satellite with a weight of 150 kgs, and into which orbit it can deploy the satellite is nothing but low Earth orbit. It can deploy the satellites into low Earth orbit, and it is the second generation launching vehicle. So SLV and ASLV will carry the satellites into the low Earth orbit, and both will carry the same fuel, which is nothing but the solid fuel is being used. Okay. So now coming to the PSLV. What is the unique feature about the PSLV? PSLV will can able to carry the satellite to the height of sun synchronous orbit. For example, sun synchronous orbit is nothing but the height will be same, but the inclination will be different. Same within the same height. The range will be 160 to 1600 kilometers. Just slight inclination can be varies. So that is. So lift-off mass is 320 tons, and this is the third generation launching vehicle, and it is the first launching vehicle deployed with the liquid fuel. It is the first generation launching vehicle deployed with which fuel? Liquid fuel. Liquid fuel is nothing but MMH and UDMH, monomethyl hydrogen or unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrogen. So for the first time, this is the launching vehicle that has been deployed with the liquid fuel is nothing but this PSLV. And it can able to carry the satellites with a weight of 1860 kgs. It can able to carry the satellites with a weight of 1860 kgs. So such a massive increase can be seen, particularly in the case of PSLV. And one more exception is it can carry the satellites even into GTO. What is the GTO? GTO is nothing but any satellite that can be satellites which are supposed to be entered in 20,500 kilometers is called as geosynchronous transfer orbit. As a launching vehicle may not able to reach to the 36,500 kilometers, satellite launching vehicle can deploy it into the 20,500 kilometers, and from there the satellite will increases its orbits and will successfully reaches to the height of 36,500 kilometers. That is called as what? Geosynchronous transfer orbit. Please listen carefully. So as geosynchronous transfer orbit, what stands for geosynchronous transfer orbit? Geosynchronous transfer orbit is the orbit in which we can see the orbit will from where the height is 20,500 kilometers. From 20,500 kilometers, the satellite will be moved. Okay, the satellite will deploy to the 36,500 kilometers. So that is called as what? GTO. Most of the launches of India or Isro, it may be PSLV or it may be GSLV. Most of the launches of the towards the geosynchronous orbit will be to GTO. From there, the satellite will open its solar wings and will try to move to the orbit called as geosynchronous orbit. Okay, so that is the one important point you need to understand. So these are the three important orbits: LEO, MEO, and GEO. LEO, into the LEO, the PSLV can carry the satellite weight of 1860 kilometers, whereas in the case of into the geosynchronous transfer orbit, it can able to carry the satellites with a weight of 1300 kgs. This is the clear-cut demarcation. So if you want to begin an answer for PSLV, how to start answer for PSLV? PSLV is the most successful launching vehicle, and it is the third generation launching vehicle, and it is the first launching vehicle of Isro used with the liquid fuel. And it can deploy the satellites 1860 kg satellites into polar orbit, and it can parallelly also launch 1300 kg satellite into the geosynchronous transfer orbit. So this is the PSLV. And whereas that after the PSLV, we can see the tremendous achievement can be seen to the orbit launching vehicle called as what? Gslv Mk2. What is geosynchronous satellite launching vehicle? Geosynchronous satellite launching vehicle, and it can able to carry the satellites with a weight of 2,200 kgs into the same orbit of PSLV, into the same orbit called as geosynchronous transfer orbit. So the fuels are different fuels now: solid, liquid, and cryogenic fuels. What are the fuels that can be seen in this? Are nothing but it will use a solid fuel, liquid fuel, cryogenic fuel. How do you say? How do you explain? How do you start the answer with reference to the GSLV? GSLV is the fourth generation launching vehicle, and it is the first launching vehicle equipped with the cryogenic engine. It is the first launching vehicle equipped with the cryogenic engine is nothing but what? GSLV. Okay, and it can carry the satellites with a weight of 2,200 kgs into the geosynchronous transfer orbit, into the orbit called as what? Geosynchronous transfer orbit. Next, Gslv Mk2. So to carry a huge volume of satellites, to carry large size satellites, and Isro has developed one of the most powerful launching vehicle system. This is popularly called as Bahubali rocket. So into the which can able to carry the weight of 4,000 kgs into the orbit called as geosynchronous transfer orbit, into the orbit called as what? GTO or geosynchronous transfer orbit. So these are the main launching vehicles. For example, if it is asked for 5 marker evaluation of the launching vehicle system, you can mention such a factual information and you can move to the next question. For example, if it is 10 marker, you can start your information like this and try to focus more on PSLV and GSLV and compare it to analysis of the PSLV and GSLV. If the examiner asks, also you mention. If the examiner did not ask, you try to mention the information. So that is the main important information with reference to the launching vehicle systems. What are the main launching vehicle systems? SLV, ASLV, PSLV, GSLV. I'm repeating it once again. SLV is the first generation launching vehicle, and it is first launching vehicle equipped with the solid, and it can able to carry the satellites with a weight of 40 kgs into LEO point, that is, and ASLV, augmented satellite launching vehicle. It can able to carry satellites into low Earth orbit with a weight of 150 kgs. So 40, 150. And what is the fuel used in this is nothing but all solid fuel, and it is the second generation launching vehicle. So ASLV worked for very short period, and whereas in the case of the third powerful launching vehicle, third generation launching vehicle, which is nothing but the third generation launching vehicle is nothing but PSLV, and the weight of this, it can able to carry the satellites 1860 kg satellites into sun synchronous orbit or sun synchronous polar orbit. So same height is same. But whereas in the case of, it can carry the 1300 kg satellite into geosynchronous transfer orbit. It can able to carry the 1300 kg satellite into geosynchronous transfer orbit. Geosynchronous transfer orbit. So that is the main important feature with reference to the PSLV XL and GSLV. GSLV is the, and one more point about the PSLV is, it is the third generation launching vehicle equipped, first launching vehicle equipped with the liquid fuel, which are nothing but MMH and UDMH. Whereas in the case of fourth generation launching vehicle is nothing but GSLV, and it carries the fuels called a solid, liquid and cryogenic. And cryogenic engine is one of the important engine particularly seen in this segment. Okay, so first launching vehicle equipped with the cryogenic engine is nothing but this Gslv Mk2 and Mk2. And Gslv Mk3 is one of the powerful launching vehicle of Isro, and which can able to carry almost double the payload capacity of the Gslv Mk2. So Gslv Mk2 can carry 2200 kg satellite, whereas Gslv Mk3 can carry 4000 kg satellite. But the orbit is same. For Gslv Mk2, it can keep the satellites into 20,500 kilometers, which is nothing but geosynchronous transfer orbit. Whereas in the case of Gslv Mk3, also will carry the satellites into the geosynchronous same orbit called as geosynchronous transfer orbit. As we already mentioned, the height of the geosynchronous transfer orbit will be 20,500 kilometers. This is the brief information with reference to the evolution of the launching vehicles. Next. Satellite launching vehicle SLV was India's first experimental satellite launch vehicle, which was an all solid 4-stage vehicle. How many stages are there in SLV satellite launching vehicle? And it is a 4-stage launching vehicle. 4-stage launching vehicle. And what is the fuel used in this SLV is nothing but solid fuel. What is the fuel used in this is nothing but solid fuel. And it can able to carry the weight is 17 kgs and can carry the satellite with a weight of 40 kgs the satellites with a weight of 40 kg satellites can be carried by this launching vehicle called as what? Satellite launching vehicle. Okay. And into which orbit it can able to carry the satellite is nothing but LEO, low Earth orbit, into the orbit called as what? LEO. Next, SLV-3 was successfully launched on July 18, 1980 from Sriharikota high altitude range, when Rohini Satellite, what is the first satellite that has been launched from satellite launching vehicle 3 is nothing but Rohini RS-1, was placed in orbit, thereby making India the 6th member of an exclusive club of space-faring nations. So with the launch of this SLV-3, through the SLV-3, we launched the first satellite from our launching vehicle is nothing but what? Rohini satellite. And that launching vehicle, which is popularly called as RS-1, with this, India has become the 6th member to successfully launch its own satellite with its own launching vehicle is nothing but Rohini. So with this, India entered into the space, and with this, India has proved its mettle and its energy to the global arena. So SLV, satellite launching vehicle, 4-stage launching vehicle, all stages solid fuel, and the satellite carrying capacity is 40 kg satellites. And this satellite launching vehicle, SLV-3 is the first launching vehicle that has carried our indigenously developed satellite called as Rohini RS-1. So the date is important. The date is somewhat historic date. Hence, such dates are very, very important. So some people used to ask, so why we should remember the dates? I personally suggest you, if you are writing the dates, those dates are will be valuable to score the things. Next, SLV3 employed an open loop guidance with stored pitch program to steer the vehicle in flight along a predetermined trajectory. The first experiment flight of SLV3 in August 1979 was only partially successful. Apart from July 1980 launch, there were two more launches held in May 1981 and 83, orbiting Rohini satellites carrying remote sensing sensors. So SLV satellite launching vehicle has carried first launch of the SLV is in August 1979, which was partially successful. Then April 1983 and July 1980 and May 1981. So these are the three launching vehicles that has been launched several satellites into the space, which are called as Rohini series of satellites. What is the unique feature of these Rohini series of satellites is nothing but these are the satellites which are absolutely meant for remote sensing, which are absolutely meant for the purpose called as remote sensing. Next, the successful culmination of the SLV project showed that way to advance launch vehicle projects such as the augmented satellite launching vehicle. So with the successful venturing through the satellite launching vehicle, Isro had gone for the another launching vehicle system, or the next or second generation launching vehicle system is nothing but what? ASLV, augmented satellite launching vehicle, and which has been followed by PSLV and followed by geosynchronous satellite launching vehicle. So this is the SLV3 image of 1980s. With a lift-off mass of weight of 40 tons, the 24 meters tall ASLV was configured as a 5-stage, all solid. So SLV 4-stage launching vehicle. Whereas in the case of ASLV, can able to, how many stages are there in, for example, SLV, ASLV, PSLV and GSLV. Number of stages. What is the number of stages of SLV? 3 stages. Sorry, 4 stages. Number of stages of SLV? 4. ASLV 5, PSLV 4, GSLV 3. Here we can say solid, type of fuel. In PSLV we can say solid and liquid, and GSLV we can see both a combination of all solid, liquid and cryogenic. Solid, liquid and cryogenic. These are the various launching vehicles. SLV, ASLV, PSLV and GSLV. SLV is a 4-stage launching vehicle which carries the fuel called as solid fuel. ASLV 5 stages solid fuel. PSLV 4 stages solid and liquid. GSLV 3 stages which carries solid, liquid and cryogenic engines. So that is what has been mentioned. The augmented satellite launching vehicle. So with 5-stage launching vehicle with some, we can say the fuel is nothing but solid fuel, and program was designed to augment the payload capacity to 150 kg, thrice that of the SLV3. SLV can able to carry only 40 kg of satellite for low Earth orbits. So they say it also can able to carry satellites into the LEO and gain from the SLV. ASLV proved to be a low-cost intermediate vehicle to demonstrate and validate critical technologies that would be needed for the future launch vehicles like strap-on technology, inertial navigation, bulbous heat shield, and vertical integration and closed loop guidance. So, what are strap-on motors? You might have, for example, if you look at the images of the launching vehicles, so this is the main rocket. So can you see this now? So this main rocket, these are called as strap-on motors. These are called as what? Strap-on motors. So if you clearly observe, SLV does not carry any strap-on motors. Whereas in the case of ASLV, you can see the presence of strap-on motors. So what are the new technologies that has been incorporated into SLV? What are the new technologies that has been incorporated into SLV are nothing but what? Strap-on motors. The new technologies incorporated into the SLV are nothing but what? Strap-on motors. So those technologies are very important. So what are the technologies that has been involved in the ASLV? Number one, that would be needed for the future launch vehicle, like strap-on motors and inertial navigation. So with the launching vehicle will be kept with its proper internal navigation system. So it will be, so as it is moving very quick, very fastly, and it is also carrying some fuel which is burning. So it should have a protective heat shield and vertical integration and closed loop guidance. These are the main important areas where we can witness certain mechanism called as the launching vehicle. So SLV dramatically taken the ISRO's launching vehicle system to the next level. Foundation was done by the SLV, and we are seeing PSLV. In between, that extraordinary dynamics or extraordinary innovative technologies has been evolved through the ASLV. What are the technologies that has been evolved through the ASLV? We can say incorporation of the strap-on motors, inertial navigation system, heat shield, vertical integration. So while moving vertically, and closed loop guidance are the main technologies that has been incorporated, particularly in the ASLV. I personally believe than PSLV, ASLV has paved a great way for the emergence of the launching vehicle systems. So we can see the PSLV, but PSLV and than PSLV than SLV, ASLV has tremendously shifted the ISRO space program to the next level. That is very important. Under the ASLV program, 4 developmental flights were conducted. The first developmental flight took place on March 24th, 1987, and the second on July 13th, 1988. So these are the main important features about the ASLV. So SLV, ASLV, and then we'll move on to the PSLV. The third developmental flight of ASLV is ASLV D3 was successfully launched on May 20th, 1922, when SROS-C of 106 kg was put into an orbit of 250 by 430 kilometers. So apogee by perigeo. And ASLV D4 launched on May 4th, 1994, orbited SROS-C2 weighing 106 kg. It had 2 payloads, gamma ray bursted experiment and retarding potential analyzer, and functioned for 7 years. So the successful launching of different satellites, not only for the remote sensing, and ASLV has also carried some of the space related or astronomical satellites called as GRB. What is the GRB? Gamma ray burst. What are gamma ray bursts? So at the time of the star evolution or black hole evolution, we can see the formation of one of the new mechanism called as what? Gamma ray burst experiment and retarding potential analyzer RPA, and function for 7 years. Next, coming to the third and the most important launching vehicle. So up to here we can able to expect if the evolution of the launching vehicles, you can able to continue the information. So if the question is exclusive about the PSLV, you can continue from this segment. What is PSLV? Polar Satellite Launching Vehicle is the 3rd generation launching vehicle of India. Is the 3rd generation launch vehicle of India. It is the first Indian vehicle to be equipped with liquid stages. To be equipped with what? No? Liquid stages. So we can say this is the first launching vehicle that has been equipped with the liquid stages. 3rd generation launching vehicle equipped with the liquid stages. After its first successful launch in October 1994, first launch was completed, and PSLV emerged as the reliable and versatile workhorse of vehicle of India with 39 consecutively successful missions by June 2017. So by June 2017, so after that one IRNSS satellite was unsuccessful. So it is one of the versatile launching vehicle system. Versatile means what? It can be deployed the satellites into PSLV, or it can be deployed satellites into the geostationary transfer orbit, and it can able to deploy the satellites 104 satellites into the same orbit. 104 satellites into the same orbit. So we can say launching vehicle reliable and versatility. Okay, versatile. Not only the versatility, it is also the launching vehicle with the higher level of reliability. Consecutively successful missions by June 2017. 17.